please. I mean, we'll do a small introduction before we just randomly play a video. Okay. Okay, let's play the video first.
YouTube launched a new video network yesterday where you can watch other people play video games. For real, the whole network. It's called the We Should All Be Very Ashamed of Ourselves for Failing as Parents channel. Actually, it's called YouTube Gaming, and I don't get that. To me, you know, watching another person play video games is like going to a restaurant and having someone eat your food for you. Just if you like them, play them.
That was Jimmy Kimmel on the launch of YouTube Gaming in August of 2015. But even before the PC age, video games were making waves in mainstream media, although it was largely in the context of novelty. In 1985, Billy Mitchell was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the record holder for high scores on 6 arcade games, including Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. In the early 80s, Starcade aired for 133 episodes, where competitors face off head-to-head in arcade games. Other similar concepts would crop up, including Video and Arcade Top 10 in Canada, Game Master in the UK, and Amazing in Australia. None of these were yet what we would consider esports. That came later. In 1997, Dennis Thresh Fong won ID Software CEO John Carmack's Ferrari 328 at the Red Annihilation Quake tournament. The event, which was hosted at E3, is widely considered as the first ever esports tournament, and Thresh himself is often called the first professional gamer. Over the next decade or so, television and esports would continue to brush shoulders, but it only really caught on in Korea. By the year 2000, there were 2 24-hour channels for televised esports and other gaming content. In 2006, MLG took a shot at TV, broadcasting their MLG 2006 Pro Circuit featuring Halo on the USA Network.
There's nowhere better to be than at MLG. The best players in the world are here to see how they stack up.
But it didn't catch on. But in 2011, when Justin TV launched a spin-off platform called Twitch TV specifically for their gaming section, everything changed. Twitch would become the most popular streaming platform on the planet, and esports viewership numbers would explode. The League World Championships went from 1.7 million viewers in 2011 to 8.2 million in 2012, then 32 million in 2013. If Quake, StarCraft, and Street Fighter were the one-on-one pioneers of the esports world, it was Halo, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, and Dota that finally brought it to its full potential. These games were not only viewer-friendly, they were multiplayer experiences played over the internet, connecting players like never before. Free-to-play games enticed more and more players to pick up their mouse, while the online component offered the thrill of competition. With the barrier to entry lower than ever, these games spread like wildfire throughout the world, further fueling the demand for esports competitions. In August of 2013, Riot Games sold out the Staples Center in Los Angeles in 1 hour.
I'm Ifya Shock supporter coming to you live from the Staples Center here in Los Angeles, California.
The story made headlines in publications across the world. People were finally beginning to realize that the hidden world of esports was far bigger than they could have ever imagined. For a few years, mainstream media and esports continued to flirt, with the increasing size of esports events such as prize pools, attendance, and viewership all drawing media attention and confusion.
And I'm laughing because I can't think of anything less interesting, but I'm taking...
Do you have any statistics of how many of those people also go to Star Trek conventions?
If you don't break a sweat, I don't consider it a sport.
Oh, no, you do. You do.
Then, in 2015, Jimmy Kimmel made his now infamous speech. Esports and gaming culture took center stage as our identity came under fire. The genie was out of the bottle, and there was no putting it back.
One of the top video game players is a guy named PewDiePie. He reportedly makes $4 million a year doing this, which is funny because that is precisely how much you would have to pay me to sit through one of those videos of somebody.
After TBS had announced their E-League TV deal, the often controversial Colin Cowherd chimed in with his own thoughts on the matter.
I am not a friend of esports. Okay?
Why are you so against? I just don't understand.
Well, it's the same with professional wrestling. It's for booger eaters.
If Kimmel and Coward had bothered to look, they would have found that the viewership numbers for the 2015 League of Legends World Championships alone could tell a compelling story about exactly how big esports had grown to be around the world. That year, over 36 million unique viewers would tune in to watch a Faker-led SK Telecom T1 take home the trophy.
SKT will be your first ever two-time world champions!
An incredible feat which would beat out not only the 2015 NBA Finals, but the 2015 World Series and the 2015 NHL Finals as well. Now, with the mainstream media's full attention and the numbers to back up their success, the media's perception of esports and watching video games would rapidly change. So rapidly, in fact, that by the end of 2015, Fortune would write about the need-to-knows of investing in esports, followed up by a Forbes article about why esports is the next big thing. By the end of 2016, a plethora of notable organizations and sports stars like the Philadelphia 76ers, Sacramento Kings, FC Schalke, Rick Fox, Alex Rodriguez, Shaq, and Magic Johnson would all be invested in the space. 2017 continues to bring in the big names, with FC Copenhagen, the Miami Heat, and co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks all getting involved early this year. But exactly how big is this growth expected to be? What will esports look like in 2020? Well, looking at esports revenue growth numbers provided by Newzoo, a market intelligence company specializing in the esports industry, it's projected that by 2020, the esports revenue is expected to reach almost $1.5 billion, almost double what it will be in 2017. That number pales in comparison to that of the NFL, MLB, or NBA. But none of those industries are expected to double their revenue in the next 3 years. With the majority of the esports audience between the ages of 18 to 34, and the projections that point towards continual growth in all aspects of the industry, the future only looks bright from here.
Just for the benefit of the audience, could you tell us how different is esports from video games? I mean, video games is something that you play for, casual fun and everything, for entertainment. Esports is more competitive side of things. Like, for example, you could take an example of chess. I mean, you're playing chess online, it's esports. You're playing Candy Crush, you're competing with your family members, it's esports. I mean, it can go as easy as Candy Crush to all the way where you need to do 400 actions per minute to kind of take the edge in a competitive match against another player who could be sitting anywhere across the world. You could be facing someone from Singapore, you could be facing someone from Europe. I mean, internet capabilities are not good enough where you can face someone from like US or something, but it's still possible in some of the games. Some of the slower games, you can connect anyone in the world right now. And that's what esports at the end is, the competition. It's not, it's not as, physically involved as sports is. However, the mind needs to be sharp, your hands need to be moving quickly, and these are the things that, give you the edge. You're not getting up and running, but your hands need to be moving fast, your eyes need to be moving faster, and your brain needs to be processing all this information coming at you at the fast pace to give you the edge in an online, esports or e-gaming, to simplify the term here. That's what it is.
From a content proposition, how big is esports?
I mean, that's the reason why I played this video. It kind of went through all the major points that we needed to cover here. As far as the content bit goes, as people love watching cricket and other sports, there's a lot of interest being generated across the world for esports itself. People want to watch their favorite teams play. It's like cricket only. You're playing in your backyard, and now you're seeing Dhoni play on TV. You're following your idols across the world, and it's the same thing that applies here also. You can play on your mobile, you can play on your PC, you can play on your console, whether it be a PlayStation or an Xbox. And you're slowly exposed to the world's best players thanks to the globalization, the digital world that we live in. You can, with a quick search, you can find out who the best player is. You can learn from this best player. You can copy their moves or try to replicate how they play, their strategies, their movements, and that's what the whole thing is here with this aspect. And slowly people want to watch, content is available. It's not just gaming in general. You're not just looking at competitive things. A lot of people are just watching other people play. These guys are entertainers that are entertaining people with actually playing the game alongside. So not only you're enjoying this game itself, you're enjoying this content creator who's sitting with you live, and you can chat with him, you can send him messages, and now all the platforms are letting you donate money. These guys are actually making money live, sitting there playing games, and they're getting live notifications, donations are coming in, and it's something that cannot be ignored going forward. I mean, gaming is here to stay, and the younger audience is looking at gaming more and more every year.
In 2018, we heard more about esports than any other year, right? Yeah. Can it be compared to the popularity of real sports?
I mean, we saw the graphs here. We saw the numbers in the videos. It's already going across, beating the numbers of other sports, especially in US, since the data is, we have more data available for US market. It's matured a little bit more. India is slowly catching up. And you can see it's already beating NHL, NFL, MLB. All these sports are, falling slowly behind in front of esports and gaming in general. So the numbers are going to continue to grow. It's a fairly young market. These guys are slowly going to keep getting older. We're looking at the 18-year-old and the 24-year-old. These guys are going to slowly get older. The younger audience is going to keep coming in. Gaming is fairly easily accessible nowadays. So it's here to stay. It's going to get better from here onwards, basically.
Why should this content be on OTT platforms?
OTT now is more of a second screen in every home. I mean, everyone has a mobile phone. OTT platforms are easily accessible. We already currently work with the multiple OTT platforms. We work with Hotstar. We work with Airtel TV. We already work with Voot as well. We've already also worked with Discovery Sports. We have broadcasted live events from across the world over to Discovery Sports. Talking specifically about Voot, we regionalized international content in Indian languages, and we broadcast live over to Voot. Hotstar, we have an existing esports league that's running in the country. It's the national championship called the ESL India Premiership that we do daily broadcast every evening from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You can watch it on Hotstar. I mean, you just search ESL, and it's called the Electronic Sports League, and it's available for you.
You mentioned Hotstar, Voot, Airtel, right? So how interested or how open going forward are Star, Viacom, Airtel with regards to esports content? Are they willing to invest? How much are they willing to invest?
They are willing to invest right now. I don't want to indulge in numbers right now because as platforms, they are more interested in making sure that they get the latest and the coolest content that people want to consume. And they are showing a lot of interest already on a day-to-day basis across these different OTT platforms. People are showing interest. The numbers are slowly growing. And now we're just looking at, how to get more and more content, whether it be global or Indian content being pushed to the OTT platforms. They're loving it basically right now.
You mentioned about D-Sports, right? As a broadcast partner.
Yes.
Talk about the numbers. What was the viewership numbers? What was the audience response? Did people
Discovery Sports, we spent a lot of time with Discovery Sports in last year actually, and the numbers were good. We were touching about 100,000 people watching the content. I mean, for TV itself and the Discovery Sports being a new channel, they were not on Airtel last year. However, now they are, and numbers itself, I mean, for an esports side of things, for TV, they look good. Even talking about another OTT platform here, Jio, Geo also indulged in League of Legends World Cup that was happening last month. They were broadcasting it on their platform as well. So, I mean, literally every single platform right now is interested in the content and has started actively experimenting with a lot of content coming onto the platform.
So if I'm a esports content consumer in India, how many hours of content can I access on all of these platforms put together, OTTs?
I mean, I don't know the exact math around it, but there's one very interesting thing about esports audience is they have the highest retention rate when they go on the platform, because esports matches are normally much longer. I mean, they're about like half an hour long or an hour long. So when an esports person sits on to watch a content, they're sitting there for almost an hour, watching the content and consuming the content, which is, I mean, I don't know how to compare it with the normal day-to-day audience, but what I've been told, it's actually a pretty good number.
If I compare a willingness to accept esports content, broadcast versus OTT, who's more, where do you see yourself fit more?
I mean, the technology is rapidly changing. We're able to deliver the content over to these platforms without too much problems going forward. Like some of these broadcasters have a lot of, let's say, pre-requirements for the content to go through to actually get delivered to the actual, and I'm talking about the actual delivery of content. OTT platforms, what I've personally noticed, it's easy to get the content over to them. Whether it be like a simple internet RTMP push and everything like that, it's easier to work with an OTT platform because they're more, up to date with the technology, I would say. And I could be wrong, kind of generalizing the general broadcasters and saying that it's difficult to get the content over to them. But I've noticed personally, working with Airtel, working with Hotstar and Voot, compared to what I've done work with the TV channels, it's much more easier to work with the OTT platforms, and they're much more open for newer, they're much more open to experimenting with a lot more content.
You recently tied up with Voot for a hackathon or a gaming festival that are bringing to India. If you could...
I mean, that conversation is more of a Viacom 18 conversation than Voot conversation. We've just announced something called the DreamHack. It's world's largest digital gaming festival that's happening in Mumbai in 21st December only. It has a lot of different esports competitions happening at the same place. It has a huge 1,000-seater BYOC, which means bring your own computer. And it's a 72-hour non-stop fest where people can just come, play, watch these esports competitions live. And since it's part of the Viacom 18 umbrella, all the content is being pushed to Voot. So, I mean, the conversation is a bit more towards Viacom 18 in this case. And their mission or goal to kind of get on to the esports, the hype that is going around the world. So, I mean, this is pretty like the biggest esports competition that's happening in India right now in December.
So, the broadcasters, right, the big broadcasters, at what stage are they in terms of esports? Are they experimenting or have they made up their mind?
I would like to say like a couple of platforms are ahead of the other platforms. I mean, Hotstar is well past the experimenting stage. It's, as I mentioned earlier also, we're already been working with them for more than a year. And it's a day-to-day league that we're streaming onto them. So it's like how you take, like example, Kabaddi example. It's a league that's running. So it's a similar kind of league process that's running on Hotstar already. Voot is taking a different approach where they are taking a lot of international content with our partners that we have across the world. And we're regionalizing the content over to Hindi, for example, right now. And in the future, we can look at doing Telugu and Tamil also. So we get clean feeds coming in from our partners, whether this be in US or Europe. We get clean feeds, and we have our own studio setups here. People where we have our own shoutcasters, casters casting over the game in the localized language. So Voot is taking that approach where they want to, start targeting the Hindi-speaking audience. Whereas Hotstar, we are still doing the English, and Hotstar is doing the local league that's running in the country. and they are also doing international content, but English only right now. So a lot of people are there. Some experiments, some are more definitive here. You know, they're consistent. Last year we were doing more experiments on Discovery Sports, whereas talking about Airtel TV, they had their own esports competition happening in Singapore, which is called the PVP Championship. It was part of that, so they stuck to their own property basically.
Like everyone's favorite example when it comes to OTTs, Hotstar did 10 million concurrent viewers on IPL finals, right? Do you have some numbers for an e-gaming competition, e-gaming match that sort of highlights the...
I mean, the thing is, the way Hotstar, does their numbering and everything, it's very cricket focused. I mean, we don't have access to the similar kind of reports, like how many concurrents they have. But I do know like a million people end up watching the show over the span of, like, if you're doing the big finale, let's say in Mumbai, or if we're doing a big finale in Delhi, we can hit about 1 million people watching over the span. But I don't have any answers to the amount of concurrent viewership that can be generated, because that feature is apparently only for cricket.
What sort of brands are tying up with e-gaming in India?
Specifically speaking about the brands that are working with us, I mean, we have Mercedes that has come on board across the globe actually, and they've come with us in India also. We have, of course, the gaming brands, lifestyle brands are slowly, kind of coming in also. We have Coke, Pepsi, Red Bull actively doing a lot of work in esports. We have Mountain Dew, which is part of the Pepsi family. They actually have their own esports program that runs across India, and we actually run that for them in the country, where they are also part of the Hotstar stream. So there's something called the Mountain Dew Arena that runs in India every year, and this year will be, the next year, 2019, will be the 4th year they'll be running this across the country. So, I mean, brands are interested. They want to target the younger audience, the 14, the 18, the 24-year-olds. And thanks to the earlier discussions that we were having about, faster data speeds and cheaper data that is now available in the country, we have a great example of a game. I don't know if everyone knows about this game. It's called PUBG. Its players are known Battleground. Now, it's a unique case in this case because the game download is 1.5 GB, which was till last year was unheard of. People in India used to just download nothing above 50 MB. And now with data being cheaper, we have everyone playing PUBG. Everyone knows about PUBG. Like anyone who's not heard about PUBG right now in India is missing out on that whole gaming segment. And thanks to the advancement in technology, gaming, it's getting easier for people to adapt gaming or get into gaming and get into this whole phenomena of gaming and esports. The game is purely made to compete. It does not have a solo mode where it's a story that you're following. You turn on the game, you're competing with someone. There's no like single player mode, let's just put it there. And games like this which are focusing completely on esports are now coming more and more, and the industry is gonna keep growing.
So where do you advertise?
Where do the advertiser advertise? I mean, as far as the broadcast goes, we actually have quite a lot of examples. I actually don't have them right now with me, but on the game, like just how cricket is, we have sections cut out on the screen where the brands are displayed. We also learn a lot from cricket and other sports as well, where we'll say the highlight or the replay is brought to you by so-and-so, or this amazing shot. Replays brought to you by this so and so. We have analyst segments. We have actual studios where people are standing and talking. We can do actual product placements there as well. We have the whole, the professional teams that have been set up right now in the country, where you can brand the teams as well. The players who are showing up at the esports event, their jerseys are branded, just like how we have in cricket also. So just like any normal sports, it's exactly the same way. I mean, you can brand the players, you can brand the venue, you can brand inside the game. Those things don't change. So, I mean, as brands won't feel very alienated coming into the esports side of things, because they'll see it's fairly similar to what they're used to as far as sports go.
In terms of investor interest, like are Indian investors looking actively at investing in e-gaming?
I mean, to give you example, Nordwind Gaming was just bought over by Nazara. I mean, so there is a lot of interest. Ronnie Screwwala himself started his own esports property on MTV. It was MTV, I believe. U-Cypher, exactly. That is correct. So a lot of interest is coming in. Tencent is now, they're operational in the country. They're hiring 200 people. Jio has just launched their esports division as well. I mean, people across the country are now investing heavily into esports. PUBG actually Tencent tied up with Oppo, ran the largest collegiate league in the country where they targeted, I don't even know, like 200 different colleges and ran an online league qualifier. And they actually brought production houses from abroad to come and produce the content. Yes. Yes, Kovacs is another thing, example. I mean, there are examples throughout, and it'll be not a smart decision to kind of skip over esports and say it's gaming and ignore that. So it's unavoidable at the moment.
If you talk about the future, right? How deep can e-gaming content be embedded in our broadcasters' programming and our Hotstars and the Woots programming going forward?
I mean, things are getting into place right now. Esports in general, it's compared to, let's say, cricket. Like cricket, the game itself is not going to change, right? Esports is an ongoing phenomena. There's a new game can come out tomorrow. Things can change altogether. And already in esports, there is like 15, 20 major games that are currently present. And you can target your audience across a lot of these 15 different games. And there's a lot of scope to grow. I mean, content itself and integrating into the platforms. As far as competitive gaming goes, there's plenty of options. You can also just look at gaming in general. You don't even have to look at like completely on esports. So much gaming content can be generated right now with the penetrations of mobile phone. People can start doing their shows around gaming, talk about mobile phones and the games that they can play. Potential is limitless right now. So,
to conclude, how would you sum up the esports market in India in terms of scope and scale?
I mean, the scale is pretty big. Like, I'm not going to quote any big numbers here right now because I'm not the right person for that. However, with the introduction of cheaper mobile phones that are coming in every day, the ease of access to data right now, which is becoming cheaper every day, the industry is going to continue to flourish. We're actually going to miss out on the whole PC esports market because in India, it's cheaper to buy a phone right now and download PUBG and play. I mean, and people are on the go. They don't need to be tethered to a PC. While the US industry and the European industry, the esports is heavily sitting on PC right now. In India, it's going to be mobile. And that's going to be the differentiator.
You have a question?
When you put it onto Woot, you get about 30,000 concurrent views. I know the numbers because you don't get too many people come online. So why not integrate with these guys? Why not start delivering to the cable networks and let them earn the revenue so that we can popularize the game popularize viewing of esports, because broadcasters are a little cagey because there's not much revenue. Hotstar is learning they have a big property called the IPL. They just the OTTs are just seeding. So why not seed more at different outlets?
Yeah, I mean, tying up with the broadcaster is something that we are already looking forward to doing.
It's done. I'm saying, why not use cable? Why not use cable networks? Because they have to deliver value-added services.
Yeah.
So why not deliver your signal to, let's say, an MCOF backed or or Asaf's cable network? He has a large, let's say he has 30,000 subscribers, out of which even if 5% tune in, you got one. You just have to deliver the signal to the cable networks. That's all.
Absolutely.
So have you thought of that?
I mean, we have. I mean, that's what the whole push with the Discovery Sports was.
That's a broadcaster.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying broadcast. I'm saying cable networks.
The cable network itself, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Setting up a channel on.
And it could be, it could be a TVOD kind of a thing where people pay to watch. Young kids could keep, or it could be a free service.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, 3 days of esports on cable.
Yeah,
on one of the networks.
It's a great suggestion, and I would love to explore this option a bit more, and love to meet these guys also and spend some time and discuss what we can do, because the whole esports market is kind of sitting towards YouTube Live and a couple of these OTT platforms. If we have more options that we can explore, I would love to.
You're in investment mode. You're not really looking at making money out of this right now. I don't think anybody is. I speak to Copex, I speak to Neon.
I mean,
everybody's in investment mode right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not an angle right now a lot of people are looking into, because they want to kind of dig their nails deep into the market itself and have their own IPs or have their own teams. A lot of people are actually showing interest in setting up a closed ecosystem, owning players and the teams. And the conversation is kind of steering that way. They're not right now looking too heavily into the viewership bit, but then it's going to kick in eventually, because once they have the ecosystem set up, they want to go out and make sure that the viewership.
The sad part is Twitch is not available here to that extent. Otherwise, it would be.
Yeah.
Which that's a large audience you could have out there.
Yes.
The platform. Anyway, I just wanted to check out whether you're interested in the cable fraternity. You are?
No, we are.
Guys, cable guys, you can chat with him and you can start doing partnerships on esports, because there is a young audience which wants to watch esports.
Yeah, and what's it called? I'm available for another hour. I'll just be here. Please do love to chat and discuss what we can do and connect you to the right people here.
Any more questions?
Great.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Priyanka.
Thank you so much, guys.